Over the years, India has been grappling with chronic energy shortage. India's electricity consumption in the domestic and agriculture sectors have risen at a much faster pace as compared to the other sectors. To tackle the lack of basic access of electricity, the new government plans to provide uninterrupted power supply to each Indian household by the year 2022. Taking this into perspective, the 5th World PetroCoal Congress was held recently. The 3-day event World Economy. The welcome address was given by Anil Razdan, former Secretary of Power, Government of India.
The economic scenario is undergoing very turbulent times at the moment. The oil sector, which had seen the shale revolution, has led to a tremendous turbulence in the prices of oil. Nobody would have imagined that the price of oil would fall to half its value in such a short time. Coal, luckily, is a steady source, and gas, a much cleaner fuel, is expected to become a little more affordable in the times to come. We are assembled here in a large Asian country, and we realize that almost 80 to 85% of our oil needs are dependent on foreign sources. We are hopefully moving to a new era, but the new era will not come in unless the cleaner fuel or the cleaner energy technologies are available to developing countries at an affordable cost, so that they adopt those technologies and are able to move to a cleaner future at a time when they are establishing their energy industries.
This was followed by several industry stalwarts giving their views on the power sector.
Now, if I may please call upon Dr. F. Ashraki, Chairman, Facts Global Energy, to continue the welcome address.
In the past, we've had cycles. Every 5-7 years, cycle up, cycle down. This one, it is not a cycle, in our view, is a structural change. Structural changes happen every 30-40 years, and they define the next group of cycles. We still will have cycles, but from a different base. The structure would be very, very different. This government, upon taking power, took very brave steps on reforming the oil prices by removing the subsidies, and we are hoping that some reform program on the gas side takes place too.
Moving ahead, I would like to call upon Mr. G.C. Chaturvedi, former Secretary, Government of India, for the special address.
We all know that for growth we need energy, and for energy we need a kind of a security, which means availability, accessibility and affordability. Availability may be domestic or from outside. Accessibility also the same. It should be accessible to us, and affordability means the right price. In brief, I would say that since this conference relates to enhancing production and productivity, subscribe to the view that yes, we have to keep enhancing our exploration efforts, enhancing our production from the current fields, enhancing production in the natural gas sector too, and at the same time keep looking for good energy assets outside, both for crude and gas.
If I may please request Mr. S.K. Srivastava, former Secretary, Ministry of Coal, Government of India, please be here for the special address.
One has been following the developments which have been taking place in the coal sector as well as in the energy sector. And what one has gone through from June 2012 to October 2014, one can definitely say that there appears to be a very strong element of positivity with regard to coal. Having said this, An energy security is supposed to be premised on the basic natural endowments of the country. And India, in a way, is blessed with vast resources of coal reserves. And therefore, in order to follow a path of high economic growth, while we may lay a stress a lot on renewables, but there is no substitute and there should not be a substitute, coal will have to have the predominant position with regard to the economic growth of the country over at least the next 20 to 30 years, if not beyond.
The chief guest on the first day of the event was Dharmendra Pradhan, Union Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Government of India.
If you look at Indian scenario, our dependency on crude oil imports has kept growing, and we are now importing around 78% of our crude oil requirement. The drastic fall in global crude oil price to about 50 barrel has mixed implications for India. While it is good from point of view of consumers in India, continued low price of crude oil for a long period generally acts as a disincentive for investment in E&P sector, particularly in difficult geologies. This is a very complex issue, having significant bearing on our national economy, and I want to assure you that the government is keeping a close watch on crude prices. I believe that we as a nation must strive to promote efficiency in our hydrocarbon production and processing, adopt the best conservation measures, and try to achieve forex neutrality in commercial transactions to the extent possible.
I would like to request Dr. Anil K. Garg, President World PetroCoal Congress 2015, to share his vote of thanks.
It is my proud privilege to thank each and everybody, starting from Honorable Minister, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Ministry of Coal, Ministry of Power, Ministry of Earth Sciences, and Ministry of Science and Technology, who has helped me and supported me.
The United States stock market is rigged
to benefit a group of insiders that have made tens of billions of dollars exploiting computerized trading.
Who are the victims? Everybody who has an investment in the stock market. And this is all being done by computers. It's too fast to be done by humans. The insiders are able to move faster than you. They're able to see your order, front run your order.
One of the most sophisticated hedge funds in the world was also having the same problem.
This is the recycled orchestra of Katyura. The violins are fashioned from oven trays, the cellos from oil barrels, the saxophones and trumpets are made from old drain pipes, the guitar from dessert tins.
$36 रफाल जेट्स फ्लाई अवे कंडीशन में जल्द से जल्द दोनों सरकार के समझौतों के माध्यम से खरीदने की बात की है.
Let me quickly read out from the MEA statement. The two leaders agreed to conclude the agreement for supply of the aircraft on terms that would be better than conveyed by Dassault Aviation as part of a separate process underway.
Clearly now this is a different set of planes, and the 126 fighter aircraft Dassault could be in the game for that also, or might not be in the game for that, and this is a separate deal altogether.
We get you a holistic view of the day's trading.
The highs and the lows.
And the day's most significant stories.
We are seeing that subdued reaction in stocks.
Keeping an eye on every aspect that drives market.
Get all that you need to know
as the trading day comes to a close.
Presented by
BSE Investors Protection Fund.
This week on Wealth Manager, finally EMIs get cheaper. Biggest banks cut base rates.
If your fixed rate is above 10.5% for a home loan, then it absolutely makes sense to shift to a floating rate.
The UTI Pharma and Healthcare Fund delivered 75% in FY15. We'll get you investment strategies from the fund manager.
You probably won't get a chance like this for a long time. And your entry point matters.
And your car insurance just got more expensive. How much more premium will you have to pay?
The overall impact on the individual will not be that visible unless he is having only a third-party insurance.
Find out on Wealth Manager only on Bloomberg TV India.
Tom Alvini, CEO Vedanta Resources, gave his address.
And already we've witnessed a correction in the oil and gas production capital expenditure in the U.S. and elsewhere. For example, in the U.S., up until about 2 weeks ago, we saw about a 16% decline in the number of active offshore drilling rigs, and that count of reduction increases weekly.
India, too, could see a significant improvement in productivity and increased willingness by companies to deploy high-end technologies for enhanced oil recovery, which will help realize the full economic potential of our country's natural resources. India, like the U.S., should embrace the private sector in fully exploiting unconventional resources. And I'm pleased to see in the agenda of the next update is going to be a good discussion about what private companies, but also what technology can do to fully develop these unconventional resources that are not being fully considered in India today.
The key speaker for the first plenary session was Sanjay Joshi, Director, Observer Research Foundation.
When the whole world actually, we've been talking about disruptive technologies coming in solar, we've talked of graphene technologies developing which will make solar cells too cheap to meter. The biggest gainers ultimately in this maelstrom will be those who are going to seize the moment. This is indeed the time to launch the narrative for a new India. The Prime Minister has said, Make in India is going to be the new slogan. So Make in India, yes, can be the narrative for a new India which generates sufficient opportunities, sufficient jobs for the 1 million people who enter his workforce every month.
The key speaker for the second plenary session was Partha Bhattacharya, former CMD, Coal India Limited.
The new government has embarked upon a plan of power for all 24/7 by 2020. That's the formal plan they have announced. If we look at what it means, today we are supplying, our consumption is about 940 units per capita. And at that level, we don't meet the requirement at all of 35% of Indians. They don't have access to electricity. And for the rest who have access, it is not 24/7, it's far short of that. I think a 10% kind of a growth rate may not be impossible. I mean, that's the max that I think that can happen. So at 10% growth rate in 5 years' time, Coal India should be at about 800 million tons.
Following this, Arshad Syed, President for India and Mongolia, Peabody Energy, gave his address.
If I look at just the number of people who are without energy access today, about 3.5 billion people still live without proper energy access. As we look to the number of areas that can resolve this, coal is actually at the center of it. Coal is accessible, it is available, and it's affordable. And the use of 21st century coal will be vital to this effort.
The key speaker for the third plenary session was Professor Robert C. Armstrong, Director, MIT Energy Initiative.
There's also a rapidly growing transportation market, particularly in countries like India and China, and that's going to drive need for more transportation fuels, natural gas being a particularly convenient fuel that we might use. So in summary, these super high efficient engines that use natural gas derived methanol could give us about a 30% efficiency gain over CNG engines, along with some advantages in additional lower cost vehicles, lower fueling infrastructure costs, and longer range than CNG. These might enable much larger use of natural gas-based fuels in light-duty vehicles. They could also significantly expand the use of natural gas-based fuel in heavy-duty vehicles, as we discussed in the diesel truck swap-out. And then lastly, greenhouse emissions could be reduced somewhat relative to oil-derived diesel.
Following this, Jim Nicholson, Senior Vice President Argus, gave his address.
Any assessment of the LNG market, you have to start looking at the supply, and the story of the past few years and the story of the next few years is going to be a big increase in the supply of liquefied natural gas available to consumers in the global market. That's been driven recently and is going to be driven this year mainly by additions to production from Australia. I've listed a few of the projects here, but as you look down the list, you can see first quarter of next year, 2016, we have the first US export terminal coming on stream at the Sabine Pass in Louisiana, and that's going to be followed, all things being equal, in 2017 by up to 3, potentially more, but we think realistically probably another 3 export terminals from the United States. We should see more disconnect between Atlantic and Pacific basins in the coming year, but that may not last. Finally, I think just to reiterate, a move to LNG spot indexation in long-term contract pricing is probably a good goal to aim for, because that should ensure a competitive and efficient marketplace. I'm not sure how I did for time, but thank you very much for your attention.
The chief guest on the second day of the event was Anand Kumar, Union Minister of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India.
Unfortunately, world over and more so in India, the entire pyramid is topsy-turvy. Therefore, the first purpose of this World Coal Conference is to set right this pyramid, which is topsy-turvy. Therefore, the investment is required. And investment can come from public sources, can come from private sources, and when it comes from the private sources, it requires an incentive. And I will definitely speak to our Honorable Minister for Finance after this conference, Sri Arun Jaitley ji, that there is one sector which will flip the human resource development in India, especially in PetroCoal and energy sector, which requires investment incentives for human resource development. We talk of Green Revolution 1, Green Revolution 2, like that it is Brain Drain 1 and Brain Drain 2. To stop Brain Drain 2, to stop Tech Drain 2, the only solution is make in India and make it happen in India, here only, so that our youngsters, our youth, our talent, our merit, our innovation, our scientific research, they stay put here and generate wealth for the country. Thank you, my dear friends.
As India charts a new course, there is a renewed focus on crucial sectors.
The government policies are looking good. The real issue is infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure.
What would your advice be to the government to make in India really happen?
All that it takes is now do honest implementation, build infrastructure to support it, and get the funding from abroad, because our own funding is not going to do it.
Catch the head of India's largest engineering company, Larsen & Toubro, on Inside India's best-known companies at these times only on Bloomberg TV India.
Presented by Accenture. High performance delivered.
The Indian luxury jet charter business had shown a lot of promise at one time. Is it still holding strong?
We also take a look at India Inc.'s favorite private jet and all the stunners from the ongoing New York Auto Show.
Recently, we've heard Snapdeal strike a deal with West Coast Marine to sell yachts online. Would you actually go shopping online for yachts?
The e-commerce market in the world today, that's the only way to go forward.
Also an exclusive review of the ThinkPad X1 Carbon.
Loans become cheaper, we tell existing borrowers and future loan seekers their plan of action.
Even if the consumers were to take the loan now and there is a further rate cut later in the year, which is expected, and the rates go down, it's very easy for them to transfer the rates if their bank does not do it proactively.
Presented by BSE Investors Protection Fund.
Stocks that have really fallen. RBI has had a loose. Lots of markets are looking. Inflation is the most crucial reality and expectation.
Stories making headlines, moving markets. Catch the midday wrap of all the things that you need to know. Get a sense of things to come with newsmakers and experts, analysis and insights. Stay ahead with me, Minnie Menon, for a holistic take on all that matters.
Is digital India of the manner in which your government has conceived it? Government has used to raise tax
Every Indian
To invest 100% with the newly enlisted.
The big questions we are asking today.
Country's largest lender, SDI, is also.
The event also saw several awards being given away to honor members of petroleum, coal and gas sectors. The first category, Energy and Environment Foundation Global Excellence Awards 2015, was given away by the chief guest, Dharmendra Pradhan.
Petroleum sector, we have Ms. Nishi Vasudeva, Chairman and Managing Director, Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited. Moving ahead, Mr. Kuldeep Chandra, former Executive Director, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation Limited. Moving ahead to the coal sector, Shri S.K. Srivastav, former Secretary, Ministry of Coal, Government of India. Continuing with the coal sector, we have Mr. Gregory Royce, Chairman and CEO, Peabody Energy. And last but not the least, certainly, moving on to the gas sector, Professor Robert C. Armstrong, Director, MIT Energy Initiative.
Energy and Environment Foundation Global HR Skill Development Award 2015 was given away by the Union Minister of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Anant Kumar.
The Honorable Minister will be giving away the Gold Award to Petronet LNG.
The last category for the day was Energy and Environment Foundation Global Awards in Safety, CSR and Clean India.
We'll start with the first award for the day, which is the Platinum Award for Safety, which goes to Hazira Plant Oil and Natural Gas Corporation Limited. The second award for the day is the Gold Award for Safety, which goes to Well Stimulation Services Oil and Natural Gas Corporation Limited. One more Gold Award for the category of Safety, which goes to Sivasagar Assam Oil and Natural Gas Corporation. Is the Platinum Award for Clean India, which goes to Bhushan Steel Limited. Next is the Platinum Award for Clean India for Corporate Health, Safety and Environment, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation. That brings us to the last award for the day, is the Platinum Award for the CSR category, which goes to Petronet LNG Limited.